Good morning, everybody, and a happy Wednesday morning to you. All right, there's so much that this is one of those videos that I have split into two. There's a part one and a part two. There is no royal family news today. Yes, I know there's stuff going on. That's all going to be on Thursday. You'll get that all on Thursday, okay? So don't forget part one, part two, no royal family stuff today. There's a lot to cover in here. And at the very end, I want to show you two of the products that you guys have sent me for the animals and how they're working. So there's a lot to cover. Let's jump in and get there, shall we? Let's go. Let's continue on with what we were doing before, these stories coming out trying to rewrite history. Okay, this story came out basically saying that the reason that the Queen and Meghan's relationship unraveled was because of Harry. It wasn't Meghan's fault. It was Harry's fault. It was Harry's demands that are to blame for the clash between Meghan and Queen Elizabeth. One of the clashes was the big tiara row. Remember that one? Let me remind you that Eugenie's wedding had to be pushed back because of Harry and Meghan. And then Meghan wanted the tiara that Eugenie had chosen, and she was told no. So eventually, Meghan got the one that you see above. So what happened next? Meghan wanted to borrow the tiara like it was made of paste or something for a hair trial. And Angela Kelly was like, that's not how it works. So Harry tried to put pressure on Angela Kelly to bend the rules and use some really bad language when he did. Because Harry felt that Meghan wasn't being treated the way she should. Everyone should be respectful to her. And here was a servant who was being difficult and obstructive, and it set a bad tone for the marriage and relationship for the family. So of course they're saying Meghan didn't demand the tiara. It wasn't Meghan's fault. It was Harry's fault. Now, of course, that's just one of many examples. I have my own as to what I think was really going on. Meghan never really wanted to stay in the family. I think that's very obvious. She showed absolutely no respect to the Queen. Here's a perfect example of that. She went right past the Queen to go get the flowers. That's not what you do. You wait behind the Queen. You don't go in front of the Queen. I think one of the biggest problems that Meghan Markle had was that she failed to understand that she's not going to be top dog in the royal family, or even, as they said, deputy top dog. You know, there's nothing wrong, they're saying, with wanting to be in control of your life. But, you know, the royal family wasn't the way to do it. She couldn't even wait for the Queen to get in before she went around. And then finally she got sick of it and she just went right in front of the Queen. It's like, really? What's being said, actually, is that Meghan was prepared to have a huge, wonderful wedding that cost millions of pounds. But her heart wasn't in it to stay in the UK. She was preparing to leave the whole time. And the proof of the pudding is in the eating, they're saying. And that's why you're seeing it now. You don't suppose the reason she had such a hard time was because she was being rude to the staff, do you? The Queen even took her aside after she told somebody off at a taste testing when the man cooked a cake and kept saying there's no egg in it. And Meghan kept saying, yes, there is. I can taste the egg. I can taste the egg. And the Queen took her aside and said, Meghan, we don't talk to people like that. We know Meghan was rude to Harry's staff, saying, I'm going to be your boss one day. We know that Catherine, the Princess of Wales, had to tell Meghan to stop because Meghan was being rude to one of her staff. And she took her aside and said, you're not going to talk to my staff that way. And we all know what happened at the wedding, before the wedding, making Catherine cry, picking on poor little Charlotte. Ugh. That's why people don't like her. That's why the Queen didn't like her. So all of these stories coming out now saying it's really Harry's fault is just an attempt to rewrite history again. Okay, let's move on. Oh, Lord, this man. Okay, here we go. Prince Harry looked at Taylor Swift, who was granted a police escort during her summer tour. And they're saying that because Taylor got a police escort, Harry is seen as less important than her. My God. They're saying that Taylor faces less threats than Harry, yet she was clearly completely treated differently while he's still fighting for automatic police protection. We know that Harry is set to highlight her status when she went to the UK when he goes to the next step of the home office battle. So one of Harry's lackeys comes out and says, and I'm quoting, "The government's decision to provide Taylor Swift with armed police escorts highlights significant inconsistencies in how protection decisions are made. Clearly, Prince Harry is being treated differently to everyone else." And then they went on to say that this case demonstrates the need for a more systemic and transparent approach to protection decisions, ensuring both public safety and equitable application of security resources. Well, you know, Harry wrote that one, or Meghan did, equitable. Somebody else told The Telegraph that the decision to provide the escort for Taylor Swift has exposed troubling inconsistencies in how protection decisions are reached. Here's my thought on it. He's not being treated differently. They did a risk analysis for her with regards to, the threats, the credible threats that came in, and they decided that she needed that level of protection. Harry's side is whining that he's denied protection despite consistent, long-standing, and well-documented threats, but yet extraordinary measures were taken, including the Met seeking counsel from the Attorney General for a visiting performer because the performer's manager and parent threatened to pull her out if she wasn't given the protection they wanted for her. Obviously, that's not what happened, but Harry is so freaking paranoid. That's just, what he said. This is a perfect example of what I'm talking about. How would Harry know if anybody spoke to the Attorney General about Taylor Swift? How would Harry know that Taylor's parents threatened to pull her? I'm telling you. The former head of the Royal Protection came out and said, listen, Prince Harry is so disingenuous. He knew full well that he forfeited his right to police protection by going to live in Canada and then the United States. He is the architect of his own misfortune. And former Assistant Met Commissioner Neil Basu said it was absolutely right to give Taylor the police escort, but said the same logic applies to the youngest son of the family of the king. He said they had to manage the political and possible economic impact of getting it wrong or canceling the show. That there is a broad spectrum of threats from online actors and trolls stirring hate, as well as organized terror groups against prominent public figures. And the Sussex family is going to be one of the most prominent targets. Listen, this is why they asked Harry to give a 30-day notice before he traveled so that they could look at those threats. But basically, Harry now is looking at what Taylor Swift got, and he's decided that's the benchmark. All right, you guys know what to do. This is the end of part 1, so put your comments here. Hit the thumbs up button, hit the like and subscribe, and then go down into the description box where you'll find the link to video number 2. You don't want to miss this. There's more to come. Let's go.